to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We're inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios, and Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You could go out and see them for sales and service Monday through Saturday. And of course, you can get a sneak peek by going to greatlakeshondacity.com. I am in studio with this gentleman, Mr. Pete Moore. You know him from Cicero-North Syracuse. You know him training the North Stars, but he has trained people all over this community of Central and Upstate New York. And so I don't think that there is a title I can give him that's going to suffice the work that he's done over the years, or the fact that when I have events with schools, I'll say like, hey, bring your team. And so like a football team might bring 30 guys or 50 guys or 20 guys. And I said to Pete, I was like, hey, let's do a show together out in the community. He's like, all right, how many people do you need? And then he apologized and brought 40 people. So, Pete, how are you? Good to see you. Good to have you here.
Glad for you to have me.
Yeah, and happy to be here with you. So, I mean, Pete, I want to go back to the beginning of something that you and I never really talked about is how did you get into the world of strength and conditioning, of training, of paying it forward with student athletes? How did it all get started for you? Like, where did the passion come from?
Well, a lot of it started with Sarah Moore, my mother. I had just got done with school, and my mother was like, I asked her, what should I do now? And she's told me to give back. She taught me, or told me, that you need to start showing kids how to do it and do it the right way.
Yeah. So you said it started with Sarah Moore, your mom. She wanted you to give back and do it the right way. Why did you listen? Not everybody listens to their mom.
Well, that's Mom Dukes. Everything she says is gold to me. So, you know, and she always used to tell me I'm a Pied Piper. So she always used to say that I'm really good with people, and people used to follow me around and stuff like that. So I listen to everything that she says. So
you said you always listen to Mom, and when she told you to help people and help people the right way, what did that mean to you when she said, don't just help people, but make sure you're doing it the right way?
Well, the way that I was brought up is, you know, you have that tough love, but also I'm still today at my age, I'm still saying thank you, yes ma'am, no ma'am.
Yeah.
The stuff that I was brought on is that down south bringing up, you know, that part of, you know, the respect part, you know. So I've never lost that. They ingrained that in me, and I'll take that to my grave.
You talked about the down south, just the hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
So born and raised in?
Pensacola, Florida. Escambia County, where Emmitt Smith came from.
Okay. So, and you like the Cowboys, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because we got a Moose Johnson helmet behind me. And when I was showing that to Pete in the studio here, I was like, I'm pretty confident that him and I have talked about it. Like, he's a Cowboys fan.
Yep.
So you come from Pensacola.
Yes.
I consider Florida a second home. A lot of my mom's family's down there. And I lived down there in Kissimmee, and now literally it's the second hub of my company. We do a ton of work down there, and I go back and forth. So I love the state of Florida. What do you take away from Pensacola besides Mom and that southern hospitality? When you think of Pensacola, what do you think of?
Warm weather. I used to when I was down there, I used to swim a lot in the ocean.
Okay.
You know, me and my cousins, my uncles used to have me. I used to fish a lot. I used to swim a lot. And I used to go to church a lot. So that's what I take away. I mean, and that's always, well, to me up here, there's no really good beaches.
Yeah.
But
agreed.
The fishing, I haven't done it in a long time, but I'll go to church every Sunday. There's still a lot of stuff that I've did when I was down there that has still stayed with me till to this day.
How good of a fisherman are you?
Well, when I was down there, I used to get some good fish, but my grandmother was the one that was the main one, because, you know, she'd go to Alabama, she'd go to Mississippi, she used to travel, and I used to go all over the place with her. And then there were times I'd be in church, and my uncle would come and get me, and then we'll go netting, throwing the net out, getting fish. So I learned how to do all. I was all like that. When I came up here, everything just changed because of snow and everything like that. So.
What brought you up here? How'd you end up here?
My father was in the Air Force, the service, so we moved up here, and then I don't know, it was just everything changed because the weather. I was used to the 90-degree weather and everything like that, and you know, so Yeah.
You went from 90 to -9.
Yes.
How,
And my first picture was me on an 8-foot big thing of snow standing on top of it. My very first picture.
your very first picture?
Yes, in Syracuse.
Okay. So your first picture ever taken of you in Syracuse
Yes, was on a big thing of snow.
was on an 8-foot
Snow, and I'm standing on
snow
top
pile.
of it. Yes.
That's crazy. How
Yeah.
old were you?
I was young. I did when we came up here. I did Betsy Reardon, so that goes way back. So I was elementary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elementary school.
Yeah.
So, do you go back to Florida ever?
I haven't went back because my grandparents and people that we were close to are all passed away. So my mother's been back. So, but I haven't.
So, you came up here.
Mm-hmm.
You stayed here. It wasn't the weather that kept you. So, what kept you here?
Well, my father and my parents, because my father was stationed up here.
Yeah.
So we were supposed to go to some place called the Azores, which I don't know where it's about. It was a little island surrounded by water, and we were supposed to go there, but my father got out of that because his mother was ill at the time. So then we ended up staying here. We were over at Hancock, the base over in North Syracuse.
And so you come up here because of Dad,
Mm-hmm.
and then you obviously have your own life. Why did you decide to stay in Central New York?
Well, now, like I tell people, it's since working with Cicero-North Syracuse High School, I've been meeting a lot of unique people, and with a lot of the kids and stuff, and the stuff that I've been around. Each year, I just meet somebody that's unique. That keeps me here, and it's like, to me, it's funny because I had an opportunity to work down in Miami, okay?
Yeah.
And they asked me, would I come down? I was going to be working with NFL players and stuff like that. And I said no, because I still had work to do up in Syracuse, which is because of the kids. And each year, I have an opportunity to retire, but I said no because each year I'm always meeting somebody that's unique with a different story, and it keeps me. It's the kids. I'm so just, it's something about these kids that I'm meeting, and it's the unique kids that just keep me here for the drive.
You said you turned down going down to Miami and working with NFL players. You don't hear a lot of people say that they turned that down, and you said you did it because of the kids. What did they tell you exactly? What was it going to be like working with the Dolphins? Was it just being down in Florida and anybody from all around the country can come and train with you? Were you going to be doing rehab? Did they tell you like what it was going to be?
I was going to be working with, it was a group down there. My friend has a camp that has 4 camps. He trains all the NFL players.
Okay.
So I was going to be down there with them. They had took me out to lunch. They were asking me about, would your family be ready to move down? And I said I would have to see about that. And they said, because we really want you. And I said, I have unfinished business because I had a lot of kids that were getting ready to go to school, big schools and stuff like that. And I wanted to see them through. I'm not one of those people that, you start something and just because something else bigger comes on, you jump to that, because a lot of these kids that I have them since they were like 6, 7 years old, and then I watch them go through high school, and then I see them going to college, and then their family become my family, so that's why I know a lot of people, because of every kid I meet, I make sure I meet their families and everything as well.
So you didn't go to work with the NFL because you had unfinished business and you wanted to see a kid through all the way to the end, which, I mean, I don't even want to say the end because once people get to know you and when they go to college or they go pro or whatever, like they always find their way back to you. So I don't want to say to the end, but you had dedicated yourself to being a part of their journey and you weren't going to leave at one of the rest stops to go do something else and not get back in the car with them, so to speak.
Right.
And looking back in that hindsight 2020, how do you feel about that decision of I stayed to see it through?
I wouldn't change it for anything in the world because that's what God wants me to do. I just know it in my heart. Certain decisions I make, I just feel it in my heart. It's a feeling that I don't know. I can't explain to people, but I know when he's talking to me and he's asking me to do certain things, so that was one of them, and I'm not going to say no to what he has proposed for me to do.
People say they can't always hear God's voice. They don't think God speaks to us. They don't think God gets involved. I disagree because I've heard him talk to me many times. How do you hear his voice and know that it's his and not somebody else's? Because they say, because people think when the devil talks, they think he talks like this. He gets like low and grimy, and it's like, no, he talks very sweet. They said Lucifer had an incredible voice as a singer, knew scripture better than anybody. So, when somebody says, I heard God speak to me, how do you know it's him from when it's someone posing as him?
My heart. I've been taught well. I just, it's a feeling that I get, and I know that feeling when I know that he's speaking to me. And another thing too, there's other things that happens around me that I just know, because there are things that when I'm sitting and I know that, like if I go to a game, and I always know his presence because certain things around me start happening, which I keep to myself. I just look up and I can just see, and I know, because it happens all the time when I'm in situations and I know he's present. The same thing happens again and again and again. So it's that feeling that I know.
It's interesting that you say that it's a way that he comes to you, and it's consistent. Could be a totally different situation. It's a different person, but it's him by his entrance, so to speak, by his essence. And I can point, like you, to a lot of different things where I could tell people in this situation, God literally shoved me away from something, like wanted me to get away from someone. I did not listen, and I felt his hand move me while he spoke. Then there's other times where he came down the stairs of my house and right in my ear. It was like he came down like this cloud and he said something in my ear, and it was clear. And when I said to him, I was like, and I said in my head back to him, like, no, I got it. I saw him go, okay. He leaned back and he goes, you got it? All right, fine. And then when I realized he was right, he was like, I thought you had it. But there's been times where I felt him, seen him, heard him, and you and I have connected, obviously, by divine intervention. And I just am happy to have conversations like this where, I was told as a kid, my grandma and my mom were like, hey, we believe you. We don't think you're crazy, but, people might tell you that they want to know God exists, and if you tell them all your stories, they're going to put you in a straitjacket because people don't, they want to believe, but then they don't believe. But I'm sitting next to someone who's saying, like, he talks to me, he shows me, it's consistent. If I want to know, should I be here or here, he'll come down and say, hey, Pete, I got a message. So, and you have that clarity with him. You have that open line of communication, which I love hearing that because, again, as a kid, it was like, we believe you, but some people might think you're crazy. And people might think we're crazy now, but I really don't care.
Yeah, but you've always thought, well, I was always thought, I don't worry about, I'm not living for them. I'm living for what he wants me to do. And he puts certain people in my life for a reason.
Yeah.
And that's when they always talk about keep your circle tight. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, people are going to have opinions. I always tell our athletes all the time, people are going to have opinions on what you do, what you say, and it doesn't matter, so I just ignore it. My father always, and my mom used to always tell me, let it go through one ear and out the other. You got to live for who you want to live for. They don't clothe you. They don't pay your bills. They don't feed you. So let them say what they have to say. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. My dad always says to me, you want to know why they won't let you in their tree house, but would you ever go if they invited you? And that always hit me some kind of way. Or he's like, you want to know why you're the one out, and if there's 20 people there's like you, and then if there's 20 people, there's 19 in the treehouse, and you're on the outside because you don't have the password. But if they gave it to you, would you even go? And that just says a lot. And then somebody, and I'll give her credit for this. One of my exes, we weren't meant to be together, but she gave me good advice in certain instances. And one of the things that she said to me was, do they sleep next to you? Do they eat with you? Then who cares?
It's true.
Going off of what you said.
Yeah.
And I always have the quote of outside noise by definition belongs outside.
No.
So,
No.
how do you live that? Because we can say it, but, this world, as you know, Pete, when you and I were growing up, when we were kids, there wasn't any social media. If bullying happened, it stopped at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you left school. Social media was supposed to bring us together, and it's done that, but it's also done some other things that are not great. So how do you live in that advice from your parents of let it go in one ear and out the other? Is it difficult to do with today's world being so opinionated and so in your face, or no?
It's easy. It's gotten easier because, like, the last probably 4 or 5 years, I taught our kids to live uncomfortably, right? First thing. And so now what I do now is I get up every morning, probably 5 o'clock. I go outside, sit in the backyard, dogs out. I read, scriptures and stuff. I say my prayers, and I just sit back and just clear my mind. But also too, I get to look around and look at what God has created. And I'm thankful for that. And since I've been doing that, every day I go to work, my mind is clear. I'm like so upbeat. I mean, and I can't even explain to people what it's done to me. But getting up early in the morning, just getting that fresh air every morning, reading my scriptures, saying my prayers outside. It's quiet, it's peaceful, there's nothing around. You hear birds chirping, and stuff like that. And it's just, I sit back sometimes right before, I do all this before I go to work, and I just close my eyes and just, I always, say thank you, every day. I always tell them thank you for everything, So that's it. People get caught up in because everybody's going. They don't have time to sit and just relax the mind, So I just, when I go home, I eat sometimes, but I'm always outside. I sit in the backyard and stay away from craziness. And I tell people when stuff starts to jump off, I'm not a part of it. I stay away from it,
And I can second that and echo that in the sense of, I told my cousin, we went out to dinner a couple months ago, and I said to her, she's like, are you seeing anybody? I said, no. And I said, not because I don't want to. Anyone that knows me knows, wanted to be a husband and a father for a long time, but not under, a bad circumstance. And so I told her, I said, I don't care if it's the first day, when it is. I said, if a woman comes to my home and she messes with my sanctum and she breaks the peace of the home, I'll ask her to leave. And she said, man, you got to be really tough to date. And I said, because I want peace. And, and that's the thing that people don't understand. I'm like, it doesn't matter how good she looks, or, ladies out there, how good he looks. It doesn't matter about looks or how funny they are or what they could give you or how much money they have. If they disturb your peace and they throw you off balance, it ain't from God, because they say God is not a God of chaos.
Yep.
He is a God of peace.
Yep, and that's what a lot of people are lacking right now. They don't. A lot of kids won't do for themselves either.
Yeah.
A lot of people that worry about everybody else and everybody's stuff and stuff like that. So, like I said, I just keep the circle tight, and I just keep to myself.
Yeah, and I love the fact that for as long as I've known you, you just there's no talking about yourself flat. You're not showing up in a Mercedes, giant gold chain, telling everybody how great you are. Like, if people saw you, they would just see a human. They wouldn't know necessarily what you did or where you're from or anything like that. You approach everybody with this, I'm here with you, I'm looking in your eyes, I'm not above you, I'm not below you, I'm right here with you. And I credit you with that because like you always help people to feel seen and without you always help people to feel seen without demanding that people look at you.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that. A long time ago, when I used to work at the junior high, and one night I think it was a football game going on, and some kids were in the back, and some teachers came out and they were saying something to the kids, and I walked over to them and said, "What's going on?" And they said, "Just stuff." And they said, "You know the thing that we like about you?" And I said, "What?" They go, "You don't talk at us, you talk to us." And I said that kind of stuff just showed me,
Yeah.
and I've never just little things. I'm not about the flash. I mean, I'm about what God wants me to be. And every time I have to remind myself about that a lot. I can go out and do that stuff, but it's not what He wants. I'm always looking to try to give and help and, be there for people. And, every day at school, I'm trying to find a new kid that I'm trying to meet or a kid that's sitting by themselves to get them to smile. I mean, this year it's just I've been so more goofier than I think I've ever been in my life. But it's just I'm meeting a lot. Like I keep saying, I keep meeting unique kids that they don't have confidence in themselves and all this other stuff. And I keep telling them, I'm like, this school is branded with so much talent and knowledgeable and kids that can do big things. But like you said, we're in a world right now where I always tell people, whatever happened to that thing with kids are first. Whatever happened to kids are our future. Whatever happened to all those positive scenes, no kid left behind, and all this other stuff. I sit back and I look at that, but I keep reminding myself those things. Every time I go into school or I'm around a different kid. And I have to give them the tough love, but I always tell them I love them.
Yeah.
And I make sure that they're okay. And anything they need, they know that I will be there, or if I can help, I can help. And I tell my son that all the time. I just want to be that person. I just want to me, to live good is to do His work and do His will, what He wants me to do, and that's it. I want nothing more. That's it. Just you know, what Bart Marley says. You don't have to have money. Life is free.
Yeah.
And just live to the fullest, and that's all I want to do.
Well, the thing about the reality of, I told people, I said, you can't pay your way to heaven.
Nope.
You can't go to heaven with a briefcase. You can't go to heaven with anything that you. I said the only currency in heaven, and I don't know, and I'm guessing God put this in my heart to say it because I've been saying it for a long time. But I said the only currency you have is your soul. And when you get to heaven, it's like God takes that soul and takes it like a disc and downloads it onto the computer, and then He takes a look at what you did with your life. And He lets you see those scenes of how did you talk to people? How did you talk to yourself? How did you treat people? How did you treat yourself? What did you do in your life? And I tell people that all the time. Like when you're done, you got this tri-star athlete, you got this professional that made billions of dollars, you got the singer on the top of the mountain, you got the homeless person, you got the person who lost their job and are trying to make ends meet and they're working at the grocery store. You got this person who's a manager. You got this person who, flies planes and this and that. You got the stay-at-home mom, the stay-at-home dad. But at the end of your life, you just got Roger, Stacy, Steve, Patricia. Those jobs are gone. The occupation's gone. And it's that downloadable soul of God saying, all right, let me take a look. Let me see what you did. And you can't talk your way out of it and you can't pay your way out of it.
Yeah. And another thing, too, I look at it, how did we come into this world with nothing?
And we'll leave with nothing.
We leave with nothing. That's, everything is, it is what it is. And that's how I look at it. And the older you get, like my father, God bless his soul, he used to always tell me, about common sense things. And I mean, I used to listen to people and be like, whatever. But then when he used to tell me a lot of people didn't have common sense, and now I sit back and I look at the things that he used to say to me, he's so right on with everything. So I just take those little things, like I said, go back to my parents, what they've taught me, and I just live by them. The little sticks and stones might break your bones, the little nursery rhymes, those have never left me. the kindness, the yes ma'am, no sir, open the doors for people, close them, thank you. Those things have always been ingrained, and you don't see people do those things. And like at school every day, I walk by kids have their head down, I'm like, good morning, good morning, or giving them dap or whatever. It's just, or good afternoon. How come you're not smiling? I'll do goofy things just to make them smile. And then some
Yeah.
kids I meet, we get in deep conversations, and it's like some of these kids, but they won't. That was how I was when I was a kid. I knew I had him in my heart, but I wouldn't speak. I would not say anything. But then, when you do, you'd be surprised how many kids have him in their heart. What they're afraid to talk, and it took me a while to do it. Because
Yeah.
I didn't know how to. I was at that point too. But then once they do it, they open up, and it's just like you see a lot of greatness. So that's the stuff. Like I said, it's just to me, it just means everything to me.
Well, and there's, I've done events, and like I said, you've been a part of them. When we've gone out to community with high school kids and whatnot, and I've said prayers. I've talked about God. It's a part of me. I'm not going to lie. And whether the room likes it or not, what do they say? If you deny my Father in front of the world, I will deny you in front of my Father. And so to me, it's weird because when I got into this profession, I was like, well, I'm going to talk about God because that's the one thing in my life that I always talked about no matter what I did. So I'm going to turn on the mic at ESPN, and when I'm, doing stuff in 3 different states, and when I'm at the score, and then when I'm doing my own thing, I'm always going to talk about God. And it was fine, and it was fine, and it was me, and it was okay, and I didn't feel any hate or negativity or stop.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years ago, I'm sitting in the same room here that I've sat in for years, and I'm talking about God, and I'm being the person I've always been. But I felt like the world was like pushing up on me and grabbing my heart and being like, don't say it, don't say it. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I'm an outcast if I talk about God, but I can't stop. I have to keep doing it. Have you ever felt like the world shifted to, okay, you're talking about God and I welcome that, and you're talking about God and keep that away from me? I haven't had anybody really say that to me, but I will tell you, as a single man in dating, it's gone one conversation on the phone. Hey, how you doing? Good, how are you? Oh, I love that you make me laugh, and you're funny, and you own your own business, and that's so great, and you're chasing your dreams. By the way, do you believe in God? Yeah. And the girl goes, yeah, you know what, this ain't gonna work out.
That's not for you. That's a sign. That should be a sign. There were times where I was around athletes, and I used to tell them, I'm not going to force anything on you, but I'm not going to change who I am. And so before things, we used to pray and everything like that. And I used to have athletes, there was like 2 or 3 of them, they used to turn themselves around, and I said, I'm okay with that. I'm good. But we were still friends and everything, right? They would turn themselves around, and they wouldn't participate in the prayers and stuff like that. So the more we did it, they saw what happens as we went on and doing things. Now all 3 of them changed. Church, family, their beliefs are deep in the Lord, and it's just, I sit back and I say it's crazy, but that's how He works, And then there were times where I would do that with athletes, and then other kids would come in and they go that were younger and would say, "Can I read some scriptures?" And that would blow me away because, like I said, it's. I'm not saying other people have their beliefs. Yes, they do their thing. I'm not pushing anything on anybody, but I'm not going to change who I am.
Yeah.
You have that choice. You can be around me or you're not. But that's on you. But who I am, from from birth all the way up to now, I'm not changing who I am for somebody else that might come in and say, well, I'm not going to be with you because this is because okay, that's okay. I'm cool with that. I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna ever force that on anybody. But I'm not gonna change. I'm not gonna change who I am for somebody else. You know what I'm saying? After everything and what He's done for me, and helped me through times of things, and shown me who I am and what I could be, and the things that I could do, and it's just been no other person has taken me through those things. He has. He's the one that's brought me from the ground up. He's the one when things wasn't going right, he made it right for me. When I didn't have things and I didn't think I can get to certain places, he made it happen. There's times where I sat back and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to happen. I know it's not. I don't know. But he made me change my whole mindset about everything. And then now, like I said, now reading every morning before school, and I mean, it's just more and more and more every day that he's just bringing me more connected to him and closer to him.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I go back to those times. I go back to those moments sitting right here, and thinking to myself, like, I never thought being Catholic, being Christian, believing in God, that I would be feeling uncomfortable. Because when I was growing up as a kid, it was like 9 out of 10 people are Catholic. And then now it's like, oh, you're Catholic, don't talk to me. And I'm sitting here and I just said, I was like, you got to keep going. You got to keep powering. It was the first time in my life that I felt like, in the figurative sense, like the dogs are at the door. Mm-hmm. Like the dogs are at the door and they're coming to sniff and find, the Catholics and whatever. And I had to go through it. And like you, I said, I mean, what can I say? He got me through a whole deep. Like, mm-hmm. I mean, I remember moments in my life where I was kneeling in my bedroom growing up as a kid, and I had my cross that had the little kid on it, and the cross was here, and I was praying, and I just felt like I was in this black hole. And it was just grooved. It was like a circle. I couldn't get out of it. And I was like, how am I going to climb out of it? And I kept saying to God, like, I need to get out of this. How am I going to get out of this? I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how to get out of this. And all of a sudden, one day I was out of it.
Yes. That's him. That is him. He does amazing, amazing, amazing things. And it's just, got to believe. You have to. I mean, some people say it's so hard because of someone you can't see, but
you can see him.
You can see him, and you can feel him. It's just it's just about where you stand and what you do about it. But I just, like I said, I just look at things a lot differently. That's just who I am, and I've always been that way. And I prayed that he always continues to keep me closer to him. I want to get closer and closer and closer, as close as I can get, and I want to do everything that he wants me to do. And my heart, and people always say, what's your why? And my why, what he showed me is, again, I'm in a school district, and now, just making kids smile and make them believe, just making them believe in themselves that they can, and they are somebody. That's the biggest thing. And I see in today's world, a lot of kids don't have confidence. But when you see them get confidence, it's a oh my God, you watch them blossom. And the main thing too is, like I said, trying to see these kids get to school, because I know how school is expensive. So a lot of kids that get around me, I try to work my butt off to try to, help these kids become good athletes, or just, if not in school, just good people, making sure their grades are up so they have an opportunity, but that goes back to, I was always brought up on kids are our future, and no kids left behind, and all that stuff has gone out the window. And you're seeing a lot of kids now, like you said, they're going south, and it's like the kids that are going south are great kids, a lot of good kids are getting lost out there, and I guess it goes back to me again when I used to tell my mother I want to change the world, and then she's like, you can't change everybody, but in my mind and in my heart, I feel that I can in some way or fashion. So
I say the same thing. I say can't change everybody. I said, yeah, but I could try.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's not a indoctrinate. It's not a, it's just funny because, like, and I got to a point within the last couple of years on the show where I realized I was spending, because of how the world was like treating people, I was spending a minute on my topic and 15 minutes to give the background of the topic and why the topic is this and why it's okay, and let me just make sure I hit every possible thing so that nobody's offended, so I can say this thing. And then I was like, I was on the phone with one girl, and it didn't end up working out with her, but it was great because she's on the phone with me and she goes, "Hey, you know what I realized while we were talking?" She said, "You always describe, like every time you say something, you describe it and you like try to like define it and let me know." And she goes, "Just be you." She said, "I get it. Like you got a sense of humor, dude." She's like, "Just be yourself. You don't have to explain yourself to me," is what she said. And I had realized that on the show that I was like saying something and I wanted to talk about the subject and then 45 minutes are gone in the explanation of it when it's like, it's not my job for you to understand who I am. It's not my job for you to understand where I came from. It's my job to bring God into your life. And if you want him, then he is there. And if you don't want him, then he is there. But if I'm in a room with you and I say, "Hey, God is here with me and he is in this room," then when I leave that room, whether you want to admit it or not or believe it or not, you could tell me to leave, but he's not leaving. And one of my favorite songs that I was listening to right before we did this today was it's the song called "The King Is in the Room," and I literally like feel it in my body when they're singing this song, "The King Is in the Room," because it's this celebratory song, and I could just picture Jesus dancing in the middle of the room and people just cheering for him.
You know, my favorite song is "God Favored Me." Yes, and it speaks about people just saying stuff, but that's why you overcome a lot of things. When people say you can't, and people say you won't, and there's so many things that people said I couldn't do, and I didn't, I don't listen.
Yeah.
I don't, because like I always tell kids, and kids always look at me like I'm crazy. I said, the one person I'm afraid of is the man up above, and then Charlie and Sarah Moore. I said, those are the people that I'm really afraid of, and that's it. And I said, but I don't fear anyone because he's taught me not to be afraid, but he's taught me how to love, and he's taught me how to care, and he taught me how to just do the things how he wanted it to be done. But then, like I said, it goes back to there's just things that he just shows me as I get older. Like I never in my lifetime would go before work and sit outside in the morning and just sit outside after reading scriptures and then say my prayer, just sit there and look around and close my eyes and just the peace. And then I look at it, I'm like, wow, look at all the beautiful stuff that he's created. I'm appreciating the stuff that what he's done that a lot of people don't really look and think about, so but other people might look at it different ways and stuff but that is just what I see. That's what I feel, so everybody's going to have their ways of what they look at and how they feel and how they attack, how they love the Lord, but for me, I just look at it in a different way, very simple. Like I said, right now I'm just learning. I've been learning how to be uncomfortable with things, and I put myself in situations where, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I put myself in situations where I have to work long nights, and I'm very tired and exhausted, and I can't, operate. And then I ask him, "Can you help me?" And then all of a sudden, my day goes grand. So it's just it's a blessing all the way around.
You know what I do when I come home? I let my dog out the back door, and I take one big breath, at least one breath in, or I take as many breaths smelling the air until I get that final one that feels good. I breathe in the air before I go to bed and before I shut the door, and I always look up and I stare at the stars. I said my neighbors probably think I'm nuts because I'll stand on my porch for as long as I want to look at the stars.
Here's the thing I did with a team the other night. Okay. All right. Close your eyes.
Okay. I like these.
Okay. Open them. Close your eyes.
Okay.
Open them. Close your eyes. Open them. So I asked you, what did you learn from that?
To take a moment, to breathe, to settle. That whatever was going on in my mind went away just now when you asked me to do that.
Okay. Well, I tell people, and I used to do this when I did motivational speaking, that is a part that what we take for granted. And I said, why? I said, because you're not guaranteed to open your eyes next day or anytime you close them.
Yeah.
I lost my grandmother closing her eyes and then open them back up again. I said a lot of people are not thankful that they're able to do that, to be able to wake up every morning and put their feet on the ground, just to, like you said, take that breath, turn around, get out of bed, put their feet down and stretch. There's so many people that would love to have that. And what made me think about that all the time and do that is, was I had a kid that had cancer. And when he had cancer, I had to go up where they had the ward where they had the little babies, and I never knew there was a such thing where his mother, they were like in the back of this room, and I had to walk through this little area, and they had all these little bald-headed little babies, and I looked, and I'm like, these kids have cancer, and I'm just like, it blew me away, and walking through just to see that, it struck me, and it was just like, a lot of people take for granted of life. A lot of people take for granted that they can walk and talk and breathe and do the little things. And the little things are so valuable that, they don't cherish that, And so every day when I pray, and I always give thanks that, I'm able to wake up in the morning and to live another day and to be able to do the things that I can do. And like I said, I give thanks. I thank him all the time for that. When I get done practice, I thank him for letting me make it through the practice. I thank him for school, helping me get through school, doing the things that I do. He's a very, very, very big part of my life and everything that I do. And every little thing that I do, I always give thanks for. But that part I had added to when I was doing motivational speaking, because a lot of people they don't cherish that stuff. And those little things valuable. And I always tell our kids and athletes that it's the little things that are the most important things that you need to value. It's not the big. Yes, that's why I always tell you the little things. Good things come in little packages. The little things that you must treasure. You hear all those little things that people talk about, but it's so true. So no.
Yeah, it's something that, and you said it, you talk to God all the time, and I tell people, like, I mean, yes, I pray, and yes, I say thank you, God, for waking me up this morning. I can do a better job with that. And the funny thing, now when I get in bed, I will not ever just get in bed anymore. I do, before I get in bed, I nod my head and I make the sign for amen, and then I get in my bed, and I mean, I'll be laying in bed for an hour, and I'll get up and stay on my bed and get on my knees and pray and then lay back down. But my thing is, like, I've gone through stuff, and I had like a freak knee injury from something that happened down in Florida a ton of years ago. And so they would tell me for years, like, don't kneel. And I said, you don't understand. I have to. I don't care if it hurts. I don't care if it takes you a minute to get up. I don't care if I have to roll. The one thing I will never, ever, ever stop doing, as long as he will let me, is I will never stop kneeling, because I kneel for one, and one alone. And so it's funny when people talk about praying, like, do you pray before you go to sleep? Do you pray? I was like, I pray all day. I literally have an open conversation with him all day long. And if people pay attention to me, I'm constantly, doing things, because I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to get in my car and do the sign, So, like, it's like, if you don't like this, I mean, again, I always say this to people. I'm like, if you're offended by someone believing in God, I mean, if someone truly believes in God and puts that in every fiber of their being and their words and their actions, then that means that person's being a good person. Like, if someone truly believes in God, they're going to do good in the world. They're going to bring good into the world. They're going to want to help people. So whenever somebody would say to me, like, I don't believe in God, I'm like, you don't want to be happy? Like, you don't want to be positive? And I tell people this all the time on the show. I say, because I pray on the show all the time. And I always say to people, I say, hey, whoever's watching and listening, whatever background you have in religion, if you have religion, if you don't, if you believe in God, if you don't, I accept you. I've always accepted you. I'm happy that you're here. I want you to be here. And with me accepting you, please accept me. And I'm going to pray, and I ask you to pray with me just as much as I welcome you to my show, even though we're different. Because, I mean, it's funny because they say, because I have, part Italian, part Hispanic. And being Italian, the joke is that Italians back in the day coming into America befriended a lot of Jewish people. And I, not by any type of purposeness with this, have close friends that are of the Jewish faith. And so I'll mess with them all the time, and I go, well, I'm Italian and you're a Jew. We're supposed to stick together. But like, but an example of that is when I talk with them about faith, and they say, my one buddy years ago, he was like, well, I'm Jewish, you're Catholic. And I said, right. And he said, but is our God different? And I said, no. He said, so the God above all, the one that we pray to, he's not different. I said, no. He said, well, then what's the deal with Jesus? I said, and this is where I tell the truth while kidding. I said, you and I both agree that Jesus existed, right? And he says, yes. And I said, okay. I said, I think he's the Son of God, and I know that he is, and you think he's a really, 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 really nice person. But we both agree that he existed. And then we were just having this conversation of like, but when we pray to God, we're praying to, I said, you're praying to the Almighty God. I said, we, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, it is one God. You think the Messiah hasn't come, but you believe in it. I believe the Messiah has come, and I believe in him. But we're not that different. We're both, and I said this, I was like, here, let me go a step farther. Hindus believe in one God. Catholics believe in one God. All other types of Christians believe in one God. Jews believe in one God. Buddhists believe in many gods, but think about what the God is. The God of fire, the God of earth, the God of water is not the God we believe in, a God that has all the elements. So any religion that believes in a higher power is essentially all believing in the same power if we really stopped and thought about it.
100%. I agree.
You look at the Muslim faith, there's one God. It's like it all goes back up to the big guy. And to me, I love this conversation because I feel like as much as I am here as an adult, I can't tell you how many times I've thought this, and it makes perfect sense to me, and it makes sense to my mom when she sees this, and my grandmother up in heaven, my G-Mama. I feel like you and I are talking in my G-Mama's kitchen on Delmar Place, and I'm 9 years old. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I feel that way is God is telling me right now, you never forgot what I put in you and what I wanted you to be. And you're talking to somebody who you don't have to be afraid to sit next to and talk about, and you should never be afraid.
Right, 100%. And
it's really nice to have this conversation with you. I can think of the green tiles that she had on the kitchen wall right now.
It's always good when you can get somebody and you can just talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And not worry. Where you can run. Some people run out. No, he doesn't know what he's talking. I don't know. Like you said, the world today is just different.
It's different.
It's different, but it doesn't have to be different. It's not going to be different I'm still doing what I've always done, and I know things have changed.
Yeah.
But I've changed a little bit, but for the good. But otherwise and everything, I'm still the same person with the same values that my parents have given me from day one. Yeah. So that's all that matters to me. I'm still doing the same thing. I'm not getting caught up in like what everybody else does sometimes, but I still have the same values that my parents brought me up with.
On that, I can second that. I would like to think I've gained more wisdom. Finally started listening to some things my parents have said a million times. But my friend Lisa and I have all these moments where God has shown up because he shows up every day. And he's showing up right now. And when I was talking with Lisa, she was walking through the kitchen, and so she was 7 when I was like just born or whatever, and so she was my first ever babysitter, and she's my friend's older sister, and then we built a friendship over time. And she's walking through her mom's kitchen, and she just looks at me out of nowhere, and she goes, it's crazy. And I was like, what? And she goes, do you know like what you've done? Like, do you know how unique you are, essentially? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, if somebody met you when you were 3, or they met you in high school, or they met you in college, or as a professional, or right now, we can all say that we met the exact same person, and we would all describe you the same. She's like, you did something that is so rare and difficult to do. She's like, you have stayed yourself through your entire life. And the day she told me that was the day that in the background, my ex-wife was cheating on me that day. And Lisa said that to me. And then a few hours later, I found out my ex-wife was cheating. And essentially, that was the end of my marriage. And Lisa, it was like, how can I believe that God didn't walk in that room and say, hey, you're about to have something shake you, but it's not going to shake you because I've seen you and you've done something for me your whole life. You've always been the guy I know you are. And I do not believe to this day that Lisa said that. I think Lisa said that for God.
Mm-hmm. When I look at...
And it was, I mean, like, think about, like, what I went through that night. And I always go back to two things that day. That was the day that I was like, I don't need to do this anymore with this woman. But, like, I don't remember her. Like, I remember Lisa, the strength of her words, held, like, what she said to me that day, in that moment where you are in chaos, it was like, of all the times that, if she said that to me at any time in my life, I appreciate it. It's a compliment. It's beautiful. But when for her to say it that day, to say, hey, just in case you don't know who you are, or you forget who you are, or you get lost in the darkness, please understand that we see your light. And of all times to tell me that. Not to interrupt you.
No. I was just saying on the same thing. When I wrote my book, when I got done reading, I just looked through it after it was published and everything. And when I looked through that book, it's everything like what you just said, how I've been all my life. It's the same thing. I've been doing this. It's like I'm like, man, I'm still doing that. And it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I haven't changed. I mean, it's just, I like to be to myself, quiet, and, if people are in trouble, just try to help them. And like I said, it's just, I haven't changed. I have not changed.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I'll check myself. I'll say, like, I mean, there's been times where I've sat and I've recorded a show and I went, you didn't need to say that. Cut it, and it's just deleted, gone. It's like, you didn't have to. I know you're being yourself. I know you're being honest. I know you're being true to who you are, but we don't have to go there. Or, speaking truth one time on one of the other shows I did, I never say anybody's name, but I was talking about a bad relationship, and the girl called me up and she was like, take it down. And she was bullying me, and she was trying to, kind of scare me into a corner. And I never took it down because she asked me to. I took it down because it was out of my character. But if she ever goes back and sees it, she'll be like, oh, look, I got him to take it down. And it's like, no, God got me to take it down.
Well, that's how it is, man. You got to put him first in front of everything. And I always put on, like, a lot of my posts, and I think people don't understand. It puts, like, I'm second.
Yeah.
I'm second. He's first in everything I do.
I had somebody say this to me before. They said, I don't know how I fit into your life. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, if God's first and, like, Lily's second, my dog, they're like, Lily's second, that's my kid. They're like, but, like, I want to be first, and you're never going to bump God out of first. And I was like, why would I?
See ya.
I had actually somebody say that to me. They said, choose between me and God. And
see ya.
And I was like, do you understand that by choosing God, I choose you, but by choosing you, I don't choose God? Like, if I choose one side, I choose both. Because if I choose him, he made you. And it was like, yeah, but I need to be first. And in the moment, knowing that I was lying, knowing that I wasn't telling the truth, I remember exactly where I was, my parents' house, and I was in the kitchen, and I said at the time, I said to the girl I was dating, I was like, all right, first girl that told me she loved me, yada yada, and I was like, okay, I said, fine, I choose you. And then she's talking to me on the phone. I go, I gotta go. I just gotta go. I gotta go. And I felt something. I knelt down on the ground. I cried hysterically, and I begged God to know, that I didn't mean it. I choose him. I didn't choose her. I shouldn't have said it. I can't believe I said it. Why did I say it? And I called her back and I was like, break up with me because I lied to you. I said, like literally my heart could not, like I was going to jump in the stove. Like I couldn't even sit there and like let God for a second think that I meant what I said because I didn't.
Oh.
And when he's in you, which he's in all of us, whether you want to believe it or not, like when you feel him, like he will grab you because he loves you something fierce.
All he wants to do is please you, man. That's it. Show you that he loves you very deeply, man. Yes, sir.
Well, before we get out of here, we're going to play some rapid fire. And Pete and I can ask each other anything we want, any topic. But you know the Wake Up Call's tagline is where sports meets life, and we've embodied that today probably better than most moments that I've had because of this man and because of the Almighty God's conversation that has been sitting in this room. The King is in the room. What is your question for me?
Do you think the Yankees are going to make it to the World Series?
I love how we talked about God this whole time. And then I'm like, is he going to go deep? Is he going to stay with it? And he's like, and you didn't even think, do you think the Yankees are going to
Rapid fire.
You know what? I'd love to see the Blue Jays do it because, listen, let me finish, because I'm going to give you an answer. But I'd love to see the Blue Jays do it because they were my first team when I was like 7 years old. It was the first game I ever went to the Sky Dome. Joe Carter beat the Twins with the Blue Jays, I think 11-2. And I still remember that day. So shout out to my mom and dad, and I love the city of Toronto. Big time Raptors fan. So I have a soft spot for the Blue Jays because who doesn't like a Blue Jay? Like they're so soft and unassuming and sweet. But, you know, feet to the fire, do I think the Yankees are going to make it over them? Yes. I do.
They looked good the other night.
I know.
They got some good pitching.
I know.
But we'll see.
But how about this? Like, they lost Garrett Cole before the season started. They had their closer injured. They had a bunch of guys in the rotation injured. Eric Judge was injured, and they were just out of being the number one team in the entire American League, which is like, if they're that good without all of that, then maybe they finally got the pitching, right? And Schlittler, like he was psychotic.
Where did he come from? That's all I kept saying. Where has he been?
I know. All right, my question back to you. My Raptors have won one NBA Finals. Will they win another one while I am on this earth?
The NBA is trying to load up, and there's so many young teams out there. That's a hard question to answer because looking at that team that just won.
Yeah, they got one in 2019, and I'm still waiting for flowers, apology letters, and chocolates from people that told me you like a team that's not even in the United States. You shouldn't even be allowed to like a team, and they won the NBA Finals, 2019. I was with Katie Kalinsky. Do you know Katie? She was at SU forever, and under Boeheim, and then she went. I feel like you guys would like each other. If you don't, I'm gonna have to link y'all up. She's a good human. She's a coach now. She's coaching high school out in Boston.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it all depends on, like you said, the team that just won, the youth. You get 5 guys or 6 people that are connected.
Well, that's the thing. We did it back then when nobody thought they could, and they weren't, buying all the superstars.
Right.
So, all right. You got another one for me. What do you got?
My next one, okay. I'm going back and forth on this cowboy thing.
Okay.
And
understandably so, because of Jerry Jones.
Do you seriously think they'll make the playoffs this year?
That's a good question. So I would have to do it by process of elimination. The Niners are good. The Niners are better with their backup quarterback right now. And by the way, Mac Jones and Luke Farrell, both former Jaguars. 2 mistakes the Jaguars made on top of a pile of many, and that's frustrating me. But, yeah, I mean, the Niners are good. The Vikings, I think, are good, and if JJ can get healthy. Philly, Washington with Jaden Daniels, so that's 4. Yeah, so this is so there's like what? Because I'm trying to think here. Because there's 7 that make it on each side, right? Am I getting that wrong? Oh, what is the wow? I'm trying to think now. Because they take the top 4. They take each team in their division, right? And then they have there's 7 that make it. So I would say, man, if they make it, they're gonna get like the last spot. There's a shot. Right now, I think it's 50-50. I think it's like them in Green Bay, who's going to be above the equator line.
Well, see, the thing is
That's what I would say.
I see with Dallas is every time Dak uses his tight end, spreads the ball around, pass first, then run,
Yeah.
their team averages 30, 40 points. That's why when they play that way, like they played the other night, they score a lot of points. But then they go back to run first, and then that's how they lose. And it's very frustrating. But when I saw that they almost lost to the Giants, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, that game was crazy. So they had to score. They had to put 40 up in that. They had to put 40 up in the Green Bay game. Team should not be able to tie in the regular season. Because it's like they didn't play the game. It's like a wasted game.
Right.
I think that's wrong.
And that game, Green Bay, oh my God, what was that guy thinking? 6 seconds, the guy's walking up to the line, throw the ball. I'm like, what are you thinking, dude?
Yeah, that game was crazy.
Right.
There was people that were upset. They're like, I stayed up until almost midnight just to watch 2 teams not make a decision. So, my question back to you, your Mount Rushmore of Cowboys, 4 heads, any position, if you could only choose 4 Cowboys to make the Dallas Mount Rushmore, who are they?
Emmitt Smith.
Agreed.
Roger Staubach.
I'm channeling it through my head to you. Okay.
Roger Staubach.
Okay.
Ed Too Tall Jones.
Okay.
You're talking back in the any Cowboy?
I'm not any Cowboy.
Any Cowboy.
Yeah.
I like Tony Dorsett too.
Okay.
I used to love Tony Dorsett. Used to love watching, but like the Cowboys had so many good players back in the time. But you know, Too Tall Jones, Roger Staubach, Emmitt Smith, Tony Dorsett. They have like a lot of. Well, they were back in the days, but now it's like.
Yeah. The beginning of the end for me was like literally the first domino that fell that ended their run was their tight end Jay Novacek when he left.
I used to like Novacek too.
And then Nate Newton left and Larry Brown left, and it was like that was the beginning of the end to me. It was Jay Novacek. Jay Novacek was like the first thing, the first domino to fall, and then it just all fell apart.
When did Jerry Jones come on?
Oh my gosh, 150 years ago. But I would say, I mean, what he came on, he was the one that let Landry go, I think. So he's been there forever. Been a long time before me.
And look what's happening.
Yeah, because he's the CEO, the president, the owner, player personnel. He's everything. And if he's not, his son is.
Right.
So who's going to tell Jerry no?
And the decisions that they make is like
pride before the fall. Yeah. Jerry, you gotta listen to somebody else. Just at least hear them out. Like you don't have to do what they say. It's just let's open up our brain a little bit here. Some of the decisions, bringing back Zeke Elliott for a second time, that was insane to me. And then having Tony Pollard, the guy that you had take his place, you let him go and then brought back Zeke. So that was like admitting you were wrong 2 years later.
And the people that they get now is just like clowning. These guys are like washed up players. I'm not saying they're not like how they used to be.
Right.
They're getting older players, where these other teams are getting younger, more equipped, faster, more durable players.
I do like Javonte Williams. I don't like that they let Dalton Schultz go. I like Jake Ferguson. I just don't like the fact that they let Dalton Schultz go. Javonte Williams is good. I covered him in college at North Carolina. It didn't really pan out in Denver. But I mean, there's just certain guys, and there's like moves that they don't make. And why'd you bring in Brandon Cooks when they did? And like, to your point, I just and then like back in the day, there's just Roy Williams. Like there was guys that they had in their secondary that nobody wanted to run into, and then they let them go.
Well, Dallas's defense was the best when they had the coach from Washington. Who's the head coach from Washington?
Oh yeah. I know what you're saying.
And I used to love watching Dallas because that defense was everything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, they got him to home field advantage in 1 year and everything. And then what happened? Dak blew it again.
Yeah.
Like he forgets how to play football when that time comes. And it's like.
Right. I also like Tony Romo more than I think people give him credit
Romo,
for.
Yeah. He was a gamer.
Yeah. I'm a fan of Romo.
Yeah.
All right. What's your last question for me?
Your last question.
Yes, sir.
If this was the last day on Earth,
okay,
how would you spend it, and doing what and why?
Good question. I would get as high up in the air as I could so I could feel the wind and I could close my eyes and just feel the wind on my face and feel like I'm flying. I would get my dog Lily as much ice cream as she possibly wants. I would go swimming with my mom because my mom she taught me how to swim, and we literally will go on vacation and we'll get in the water and we will talk about life for 8 hours. Just we'll just sit, I'll swim around and we'll discuss all types of things. And it's my mom, the way she is with me, she somehow perfected being when I talk to her, I see 9-year-old me, I see 15-year-old me, I see 21-year-old me, I see me now. There's a way that she is as a mother that is completely and utterly incredible and timeless and second to none to me. I hear her when she's not even around. So I do that with my mom. I'd play golf with my dad because I know that that's important. Well, actually, I don't know if I'd play golf with my dad. I know that we played it, we had fun doing it, but what would I do with my dad? I'd go back to Italy with my dad because that first night of eating with him in Rome, that was one of the coolest things when we looked at each other and I was like, "Hey, Dad," and he looked at me and we were both like, "We're in Italy," and because that was a promise that we made.
Right.
So I would go to Italy with my dad. I go swimming with my mom. Lily would get ice cream. I'd get up in the air and want to just feel the wind on my face. And man, I would do a show. And I would smile and I'd look right in the camera and I'd be like, "I'll see y'all soon. I'll see y'all soon." That's what I would do. And I'd probably just have right before everything was done, I'd have a huge tent somewhere and I'd just bring you and all my people. And we would just laugh and smile and dance and cry and
celebrate.
And I would just tell y'all, don't you dare wear black. I want y'all to celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you get sad because you know that I'm always going to be around and you're going to see me and you're going to hear me and God's going to make sure that I'm never too far away because I know my God and I know what he does and I know that he'll let me mess with you and I'll do things where, Pete would be in his office and he'd shake his head because something would happen that have to do with me and then he would laugh and then he would cry at the same time and then he'd be like, "Ah, damn." And then, I'd have a lot of those moments. And I just tell them all this is the first act. I'm going to be back for the second one.
Mm-hmm.
So next time I come back, I'm coming back with the king. So,
Yep.
that's what I would be saying. So, yeah. Well, you get the final word here on Wake Up Call inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Pete Moore, training people all over Central and Upstate New York, changing lives for the better, doing a lot of work with CNS, but with all the schools that he's worked with over the years and will continue to work with. You get the final word. What do you want to say?
I just want to say, I always tell you, thank you. I mean, you're a blessing to so many people. And, every time that we meet, every time I see you, it seems like God is blessing you more because I see you out even more other places now. I see your face a lot more now. I mean, I know you were doing a lot before, but now I just see you like everywhere. And it's like he wants you just to spread and just keep growing and keep doing great things. So, and I just want to thank you for always keeping me a part of your journey. You know, I mean, that's that it touches me, and I thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I don't have too many people like you that are genuine. You always talk about me. You know, you're doing so much amazing work out in the community too as well, and changing lives and touching lives and stuff like that. So, you know, my final word is just don't ever change. Keep being you. Don't be afraid of being you. You know, and like they always say, do not let anybody disturb your peace. You know, anyone. And if they can't understand it, then it's not meant for them to understand what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go and who you're trying to be. You know, because God has a purpose for all of us, you know, and He has us doing certain things for Him. So if people can't appreciate what you're trying to do, then that means that they don't need to be a part of what you're trying to do at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, they're going to see the amazing things that you bring to the table. But it's God that's directing everything, you know. So don't ever be afraid of approaching anybody and letting people know, because there's a lot of people used to say to me when I was up at CNS, you know, you pray up here and, you know, how do you do it? And I said, I'm just being me. I'm not, you know, I'm not changing who I am. And more people that get around me see who I am. It's not me. It's what I'm seeing that these kids and other people are doing. But they're just afraid to open up and be, because I never met so many kids that have God in their life and they speak it, but they're afraid to talk it. You know what I'm saying? And I was that same one. And but you know, he's got me now. Like I'm just, you know, like they say, I want to get up and dance sometimes. You know, but it is all good. And again, I want to thank you for bringing me on your show. Keep making yourself get bigger and bigger, and I know you have some dreams or plans of trying to get to places where you can call home, and that I pray that all those things will come to light, and God will take care of you. I know He will, because He's doing it right now. So thank you again for having me here. You're a blessing. We say this to each other all the time. Love you, man. And just keep making it happen, man. Keep changing those lives and keep making a big difference.
Well, I would say the same to you about everything. You know, I just, you know, getting to teach not having to, but getting to teach with Tracy Lieberman's class at CNS, and I got asked to come back and do it again. And, you know, being in that room, I'm setting up, I'm getting ready, I'm doing my thing, and then all of a sudden I look up and there's Pete Moore. And you had seen on social media that I was there. And he walked in and he goes, hey, I don't want to disturb anybody. I don't want to do anything. I just want to say hi to my guy and tell him I love him. And I just went over and gave you a hug, and you're like, all right, that's it. Like, it just, you know, but it's, you know, to have Pete come in the room, to even know me, to take time out of his day for me, to tell me he loves me, that makes me feel like I'm doing something, because it's coming from a person that has God in him. He has good in him. He helps people. He cares about people. You feel the genuine love. You feel safe. This conversation made me feel more like myself today. And so, you know, get yourself a Pete Moore in your life. And then those hugs mean more. So have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. Stay well. Know that you're appreciated. Know that you're loved. Know that you're never alone. Don't be afraid to talk about God. You know, the two things when it comes to high school kids in the future. And, you know, they say, well, they don't believe in God. And that's not true. Because I've had parents stop me and tell me, like, thank you for talking about God on stage today, because you helped my daughter feel safe. And she believes in God, and she has a strong faith, but you helped to bring it out of her. You helped her to feel safe to do it. And if you think that the future of this country and this world's in bad hands, you got 100% of this screen that would disagree with you, because we're with these kids all the time. So keep being good kids. Keep being yourselves. Keep believing in God. And as Pete said, don't let anybody tell you anything. You keep doing for God. You keep doing the best you can. You be good to yourself. You be good to other people. And you make a difference just by being you. That's your superpower. Love you, Pete.
Love you too.
Talk with you soon.
Yep.
Y'all stay safe and be well. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, this is Wake Up Call.